The Lakers lose in Denver, and this could be a game they regret. We'll explain why next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcast. Maybe you're a Spotify guy. Maybe you're an Apple guy. Maybe you're one of the 37,000 plus subscribers to the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel. No matter how you're doing it, you're part of making the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network, anywhere you're going to find, that's for sure. I'm Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky. Covered the Lakers for nearly 20 years with the LA Times, with the ESPN, with the Athletic. Lots to break down. The Lakers lose in Denver 120-113, Andy. In an interesting twist, though, to the Lakers lose on the road to a decent team. They did not get blown out. And dare I say, Andy, they had every opportunity to actually win this game and didn't. So I guess they flipped the script, Andy.
Well, there's a lot that we're going to talk about in terms of the details of this game and how they ultimately ended up losing it. But at the risk of sounding totally reductive, they lost this game in the first 2 minutes and 55 seconds, where they fell down 11-0, like in, again, less than 3 full minutes. Jamal Murray, I believe, had 9 of his 28 points in those barely 3 minutes. The Lakers from there, they lost the first quarter, I believe, by 10. They won or tied the next 3 quarters, each of them. So you look at, there are other factors as well. If this was not a record for smoked, like a franchise record for smoked layups, it's got to be top 5. You said in the intro, you and I have covered this team for a long time. We have seen at this point thousands of Laker games. It's hard to think of more where they smoked this many layups.
Good. They missed
there were
many layups.
There were many opportunities, many things to break down from this, and there was a lot in there that you could see where it's like, all right, they actually can go toe-to-toe with this Denver team, but they put themselves behind such an extreme 8 ball so early on. Man, that is a rough way to spend the next 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, like I said, we've gotten so used to them digging, just getting blown up by the best teams, and it looked like that's what this was going to be. They get out to this, and I was shocked when I looked at the box score again, sort of catching up on stuff and the numbers and reviewing things and whatever. And like the Lakers were sitting on 10 turnovers. And it seemed because, obviously they had a bunch of turnovers early, which both prevented them from scoring. You don't have the ball, you can't score, you don't shoot. And of course, you're giving Denver opportunities to go the other way. And then it seemed like, Andy, every time they got close, they through most of the game, they would get the lead down to 7. They'd get it down to 5. And then they'd turn the ball over a couple of times or have a bad possession, or something would go wrong with what they were doing. And I was shocked at the end that they were still sitting on only 10 turnovers.
Well, 3 of them were in the first quarter.
Yeah, I would say, but like they were loud turnovers then, like in the sense that it wasn't like, they were throwing the ball all over the gym, but man alive, some of the timeliness. I mean, I think honestly, like if you want a sort of a theme of this game, the idea of timeliness is kind of critical. Like, poorly timed turnovers that short circuit a potential comeback, so where you're at 5, one more good possession, you're at 3, and then you suddenly find yourself back at 8. Like they were just doing that all night. And I didn't think, honestly, I was surprised they put themselves in a position, one possession game where they have an opportunity to win. And, I thought played better than Denver overall for long stretches of this game, but it was it was kind of like the I forget now which game they were, was it Orlando where they had like 3 minutes of the game, Orlando outscored them by 30-2, and then for there were 45, the Lakers were winning. There was a little bit of that in there where they couldn't sustain the momentum. A couple times, Marcus Smart, who was very good in this game, I'm not picking on Marcus, but had 2 wide open threes late in the fourth that one of them needed to go in.
And he's typically been really good in the fourth quarter, in particular, shooting threes.
Preferably both, but at least one of them needed to go in. He missed them early in the game when they were trying to get back into it. They had, everybody had wide open threes and all that, and they just couldn't get them to go down. And like Denver got enough of those, the Lakers just didn't. And it is, like I said, I'm not actually totally joking when I say it is a nice twist for them to be in a situation where they'll say, yeah, they didn't win the game, but going to play in a tough place, they were in it the whole time, and I honestly think should have won, and I think they'll be kicking themselves for not.
They certainly had their opportunities, man. And like you said, every time it felt like they had some momentum going, they got the lead down to 2 in the fourth quarter. They just could not sustain it. There was a sequence where Rui missed a transition layup, and that turned into a corner 3 for Denver in transition. So you have a 5-point swing right there. And, we'll talk about too, DeAndre Ayton got hurt 5 minutes into the game, and it's left knee as opposed to the right knee that had been bothering him throughout most of 2026 and caused him to miss 5-6 games, something like that. LeBron hurt himself late in the fourth quarter, had a hard fall and a landing on his elbow, his left elbow. To be honest, I couldn't quite, they didn't have an angle, camera angle and replay angle clean enough to show exactly what happened, because to be honest, my initial thought was he hurt his right elbow. His right elbow, actually, the contact that he made falling to me looked much worse, but he was out of the game. Then he got put back into the game, played for a few possessions, looked extremely uncomfortable, other than a couple times where he got the ball and passed out. One of the times was along the baseline where I think if he had not been hurting, there's at least a non-0% chance he looks to drive for a layup or contact, but it would have required his left arm. When he didn't have the ball, his left arm was just hanging, like dead armed. JJ said after the game that they took him out and he didn't finish the game because they didn't feel comfortable with him inbounding after a timeout, like physically capable. I got to be honest. I think JJ made a mistake putting him back in the game. Yeah, it's a mistake I'm not going to crush him for. I get it. Beyond, and this is not a LeBron ego. You got to kiss the ring. Of course, it's LeBron. He's going to close. LeBron had been playing really well in this game. So, like, it would make logical sense to put him back in forget the name and, the record that he broke tonight and all that stuff. Forget all of the context of who LeBron is. He was playing far well enough to be in the game.
Sure.
But he was not physically capable of it. JJ subbed out Rui at a point where Rui was killing it on both ends. The Lakers had momentum. They had it down to either one or actually it may have been down to one at that point. I know I'd said 2 earlier, but I think it was down to 1. It's not a mistake I'm going to crush anybody for, but I do think it was a mistake.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I get it, and it's just the opportunities were there. I mean, regardless of who was on the floor, I think you look at it and you see like his ability to move the ball and find the right shot, the right player is significant.
He's still compromised, though.
No, it was obviously compromised, but I mean, it wouldn't be the first time you have an injured star because they're still doing stuff that is more valuable. But I just it will. I'll look at it this way: Lakers shot 52% from the floor. They shot 42% from 3-point range. if they did they only turned the ball over 10 times, much to my surprise. They had 12 steals in this game. They turned Denver over 18 times. Like, the defense really did tighten up. Nikola Jokic was one turnover away from the quadruple double
that nobody wants.
And like, they did really good work, particularly given that they were down some size. When you look at these numbers, there was one thing that stuck out that worries me for what the Lakers could find themselves doing in the playoffs. I'll explain what that is next.
Hit the button for me, please.
All right.
Hit the green button for me, please.
The shiny green button. Here we go.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel now. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late West Coast shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, rivalry games, ranked matchups, non-ranked scrappers. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props. You can go safe, go bold, or just ride the team that you've been following all season, maybe all your life. It's your parlay, your style, and now with more upside behind it. Plus, you can apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the payout potential. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game.
Okay. Second green button worked. That's good.
Sometimes the buttons just don't react.
As the old saying goes, sometimes the green button doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very specific saying, but it's applicable here.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lakers, all kinds of good numbers in this game. 27 from Luka with 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Only 3 turnovers. He did pick up his 15th technical foul, which the Lakers will almost surely try to get rescinded, because at least when you're watching the broadcast, there wasn't anything in particular that was really obvious or demonstrative that Luka did.
We've seen Luka protest or question how he got that tech, where it's like, bruh, you know exactly why you got that tech. We have both said many times, Luka does complain too much. He needs to knock it off. This time, he seemed genuinely confused as to why he got a tech, and everybody watching the game, it seemed genuinely odd. I don't know if this was a reputation thing that spilled over. The league does sometimes rescind techs. If for no other reason, then I still have no idea why he even got it in the first place. It would not shock me if this one got rescinded.
Yeah, me too. So we'll see what happens there. But, you look at the numbers here. Luka, 27 points, not, 11 of 24. Like, that's, almost 50% shooting, 3 of 10 from 3-point range. Not crazy amazing, but not problematic either. One more and you're shooting 40% from 3 for the night. LeBron and AR each had 16 points, not prodigious output, but they had 15 assists between them against only 1 turnover. And between the two of them shot 13 of 22. So it was an efficient 16 for each of them, with a lot of assists and no turnovers. They each had 3 steals. Best game, you mentioned Rui, best game from Rui in a long time, 6 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3-point range. He had 16 points. Jackson Hayes filling in for DeAndre Ayton, who left the game, as you noted, 5 minutes in. He dunked his way to 19 points, was super active, finishing around the rim and, doing all the stuff you'd want, putting up as much of a fight as he could against Jokic inside, all of that.
Yeah.
The number that worries me in this game, that I think if you're looking for an Achilles heel that people don't talk about maybe as much as some of the other ones for the Lakers in a potential playoff matchup is the fact they only got to the free throw line 15 times. LeBron, Luka, Austin, they were not just hanging back trying to, hit jumpers all day. They were attacking the basket, doing all this stuff. And it's not a complaint. I'm not saying they should have gotten more calls. There were a couple. There are always going to be some. It's the NBA. You're always going to be like, hey, where's the whistle there? They only got 15 trips to the line. When the Lakers struggle to get to the line, they are very, very vulnerable offensively. And as you get closer to the playoffs, and certainly once you get into the playoffs, it's harder to run an offense that is driven in large part by free throws. So that to me is the one thing that sticks out. And also, too, if you're only going to get there 15 times, please make more than 10 of them. But
in a 7-point game, that matters. It
does matter. But like all of these really nice numbers that the Lakers put up, if there's a red flag, it was that, like, big picture red flag, because overall they did a lot of stuff that they could be and should be happy with. And the biggest disappointment is I think they had every opportunity to close this thing out. Denver left the door open multiple times. The Lakers forced the door open defensively, multiple times in multiple ways to give themselves an opportunity. And there just wasn't that timely execution that they've had at different moments. And it cost them.
Yeah. It's costly because the standings. It's costly because if they had won this game, they would have the series tiebreaker in hand against Denver. They've got another game coming up.
Phoenix lost too. They would have moved 3 games ahead of Phoenix and would have jumped in front of Denver.
And they've got another game against Denver, I want to say on the 14th.
Something like that, yeah.
Either the 14th or the 21st, I think. It is mid-March in any event. That game is one that Aaron Gordon in all likelihood will be back.
Yes.
Peyton Watson could be back. Cam Johnson might be playing in it. This is a shot that the Lakers had against a Nuggets team that was not at full strength. I know the Lakers lost DeAndre Ayton in this game. But this Denver was far more wounded than them. Denver was far less whole than them. And this game doesn't make me necessarily think they can't beat Denver at full strength. Quite frankly, ever since the Luka era began, the Denver thing has largely gone away. They've actually
been fine against them.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I think that is in part because between Luka and JJ, two very main characters in the chapter and stories of Lakers sadness versus the Nuggets,
sadness.
Those two guys, they've got no core memories of that at all. That's none of their business. And they've played Denver pretty well since then. This game doesn't make me think we're reverting back to Denver's got their number or anything. It's just, It's a missed opportunity. And again, it's a missed opportunity that they missed 3 minutes into the game. Watching the opening 3 minutes there was so much, what the F, man? What the F?
Truly. I look at this one and it's hard to, because there was so much that I genuinely liked about what they did. I thought the way they tightened up defensively. I thought the way Marcus Smart, a catalyst here, but everybody, they had stretches of this game where they really made Denver struggle. Good offensive team. Denver's not great defensively, but they're still a good offensive team, even with these guys missing. And the Lakers did really good work with ball pressure, with well-timed doubles, bringing the timing of your double in the post with good recovery and good help, good anticipation of Luka got his hands on a few balls. I mentioned he and AR had 6 steals between them. Timely jumping of passing lanes or anticipation without overcommitting. That I really liked a lot of the stuff that they did. so I'm less annoyed by this or dismayed or disheartened or all these other things. I don't know. Maybe it's me just being too optimistic here. We want this show to be going on as long as we can with meaningful basketball games. I'm just focused on, like you say, on that opportunity that they missed to go up to 5, to put extra distance between them and Phoenix and all this. I will say, though, we talked about like building. Like, I do think there's enough in this game that they can build from, that they can be like, guys,
well,
like, this was good. If
assuming LeBron and Ayton aren't, I mean, we didn't hear from DeAndre Ayton at all. JJ said afterwards that he really had no clarity. I mean, he had to clarify with whoever was in charge of media relations that night. He had to clarify which knee it was. And again, it is not the knee that he had been nursing for a while.
Left knee, not right knee.
LeBron offered no clarity about whether or not he'd be able to play Friday versus the Pacers. He said he hoped that he could. He hopes that he wakes up and just feel good, but he offered no promises that he would underdeliver.
If I have to guess, especially with the Knicks coming up on Sunday, you give the man the day off.
Sure, but I'm hoping that it's just a day off as opposed to more days off.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying we don't know.
We don't. And he, you mentioned the record he broke in this game on Thursday was Kareem's record for field goals. So now nobody in the NBA has more field goals than LeBron, which is quite impressive.
It really is.
And so, he talked, the honor of being named with all the names and all these other things. After the break, let's talk a little bit more about potentially missing Ayton, because I think there are a lot of fans out there who are probably excited at the prospect of Ayton missing some time. But let's talk about that and Jake LaRavia as well. Like, what's going on there in terms of the supporting cast. So do all that next.
Oh, well, 5 Hour Locked On Lakers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Drink. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We are looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know what tasty flavors are the best, which one might be sleepers. I'll tell you which one's a bust: green button flavor. The board is set. The flavors are ready. Yeah, that one's going to be the next Anthony Bennett. And he didn't deserve that. There's only one that's going to take the top spot. I'm just mad. 5 Hour Energy has a.
I hope he's not an everydayer.
Well, if he is, he's not anymore. 5 Hour Energy is a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone. Again, apologies. He did
except Anthony Bennett.
With 0 sugar boost. Flavor, I'm taking peach mango. It's got a ripe peach flavor on the first sip. Tropical depth and sweetness from the mango. It's got a nice balanced tropical blend. It can make you feel like you're relaxing on a beach and not dealing with green buttons. I'm also very open to the watermelon and blue raspberry as sleepers, but peach mango, that's my draftee. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon.
Oh, you know what? I should let people know about the Everydayer Club, Andy.
No, you should let people know that Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Indeed.
Oh,
that is what you really need to let people know. Would you like me to let people know?
No, I'll do it.
Okay.
Locked On Lakers, as Andy says, is brought to you by Indeed. You got workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox overflowing. The one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need the right hire. This is a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. It helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, whether that's skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the seconds that I've been talking to you, the minute or whatever it is, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed-sponsored jobs. And you can do this, listeners of this show, Locked On Lakers, get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job premium, get your job Give it the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Lakers. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And now I will tell you about the Everydayer Club. If you want to get in there, you want to have another place to chat, talk to fans, talk to each other, talk to us, get in and start some fresh conversations with people. The Discord servers that you get access to through the Everydayer Club are a great place to do it. Not just Lakers fans from across the network in the NBA. So if you relish that kind of conversation, we know out there the discourse in the NBA is strong. Head over to the Everydayer Club, $5 a month, $50 a year. You also get the show ad-free, which is a nice little perk to go along with it. LockedOnLakers.supercast.com. Check out the show notes for more details. Okay. We have spent a great deal of time talking about DeAndre Ayton and how he's playing, and has he been good, and does he suck, and all these other things.
Flavor of crunk juice.
Yes. And I, even as somebody who's like defending Ayton as like, for $8 million, you're actually getting a fair amount of production. I was hoping for more. I thought it would be a little bit better than this. But he's still hitting the baseline of like more valuable than your average $8 million center. He left the game 5 minutes in with a bum knee. There are probably fans who don't want to see that much of him, so they may not be upset. I do think another extended absence from Ayton, though, could be a problem for this team, particularly if Maxi Kleber is again banged up. He did not play in Denver on Thursday. And it's also problematic because low key, Jake LaRavia played 10 minutes in this game, which is, can't say for sure it's a season low, but it's damn near. And that's coming off 14 against New Orleans, 22 against Sacramento. So it's going steadily down for a guy who's been a major part of the team's rotation all year long.
Yeah, with Ayton, I understand what you mean, as insofar as how you're viewing this through the prism of the contract. I would say, though, it's not the right way to view it, just because he was very much signed with the idea of overperforming the contract.
Oh, for sure. I had higher expectations.
And whether he is meeting the baseline of what you would consider an $8 million center, that's a separate question from, is he meeting the baseline of what the Lakers need? And of late, the games where he is meeting the baseline of what the Lakers actually need, I think over the last week, he's had a couple of them, but he's played better over his last 4 or 5 games. But the problem, the bad games are very loud with him. And also, I've used this signpost on a few occasions since 2026 has rolled around, and I don't know how much of that lines up with the right knee issue that he had been dealing with, or the left knee issue that he's currently dealing with. How much one had been lingering before it was known, how much the other was lingering before it's known. And I raise this just because perhaps that is the explanation, or a part of the explanation, as opposed to just DeAndre Ayton reverting to the form that all of the skeptics expected and now are crowing, "I told you so." But the fact remains, he has not been consistently reliable, even if people are overlooking the game, or even sometimes not even wanting to concede the games where he's played well. I think there are times where Ayton plays well and people just don't really seem readily.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah.
But he has not been regularly good enough. So on one hand, I get why the people aggravated with Ayton will say good riddance. That being said, his absence is a problem. The Lakers got their asses handed to them tonight on the boards. And for the most part, even in games where if you're not happy with what Ayton does, he still gets you 7, 8, 10 boards. They're going to miss him just on the glass. They're going to miss him as a presence to box out. This will become, I think, also more accentuated if JJ seemingly refuses to play Vando. He gave him 4 minutes tonight, but segging to Jake LaRavia.
Flurry of playing time comparatively.
Well, I'll just say this, segging to Jake LaRavia. If Jake LaRavia's name was Jared Vanderbilt, he'd have been yanked out of the rotation by now.
There's
a possibility.
Some truth to that. I have been, people ask, who on this team possibly be as disappointing as DeAndre Ayton? For me, Jake LaRavia. It is much easier to like Jake than to like Ayton.
In what sense?
He's works harder. His motor is not in question.
Okay.
He plays harder, right. All that kind of stuff. He shows, so as a fan, it's easier to like Jake LaRavia than it is to like DeAndre Ayton. The expectations for the talent level. Ayton is, former number 1 pick, has all the talent in the world. He's 7 feet tall. He's all this stuff. LaRavia has not, after like a pretty good start, has not been very good. He shot 33%, which included a couple rally cap games in February. He's off to a bad start in March. And generally speaking, he's just, the production as a shooter has been well below, and really even as sort of a consistent offensive player, he doesn't seem like he's grown from the limited amount that we saw him last year and last couple of years playing with. Like, the expectation was, I think, that he had another level to raise up as a young player given an opportunity. And I don't think he's done it. I'm not, so part of this probably was my fault for overestimating where he was, or sort of over slotting him, or whatever it might be. But when you have that, you combine that with Ayton potentially missing. What are you going to do with Jared Vanderbilt? Like, you can get thin again pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. If you look at Jake's splits, they're pretty all over the place, and they kind of reflect the inconsistencies that we're talking about, because there will be times when I check out Jake's numbers or check out his splits, and I'm like, whoa, those are way better than I thought they were. And I think they just reflect how there will be games where he is very efficient and very effective with the ball, mixed in with a lot of offers or one-fers. He did say during his introductory press conference, you mentioned the shooting, last year was a career high for him from behind the arc, but he said himself, the percentage is good. I've never done it at high volume. That is the next step I need to take before anybody, including myself, can consider me a legit three-point shooter. And that step in his growth has not been there. I mean, to your point about Jake's, I guess, inherent likability, for lack of a better way of putting it, he plays super hard. Like the lack of effort,
which is in part why he's continued to play. I mean,
sure,
he's easy to like for a lot of the same reasons that Vando is easy to like as a fan. Like, Vando always tries, and like the one thing, like, you're sitting on your couch at home watching these games, and the one thing that you kind of demand as a fan is, like, for bleep's sake, at least try. Like, please try. And that's why guys like Ayton are so frustrating, because I don't even think they're like DeAndre is intentionally getting out there and just loafing but like the motor isn't there. And like that thing that constantly makes you go at whatever your high level is. I mean, I think Rui sometimes runs into that, where you don't realize you get into cruise control. Ayton is much worse about it than Rui. That's not my point, but like, it happens to a lot of players is my point. It doesn't happen to Jake, and it doesn't happen to Vando, and that's part of the reason people root for them. And like, effort, coaches will say this all the time, effort is a skill. And those two guys have it.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens with Jake, but if he can't start turning things around. Like, March is only a few games, but his March numbers are dreadful. And
Lousy March weather.
And tonight's not going to make him any better. But if Laravia can't pick this up, then you start getting back into the general depth / top heavy issues with this team. Like, remember the first month and a half, there were reasonable conversations about whether Jake could be a fifth starting option for this team. And they were reasonable to have. We're now talking about how many minutes he actually should be playing. Like, that's how
you'd agree he's bleeding confidence offensively. Would you agree?
Yeah, other than as a ball mover, yeah. I think he is willing to put the ball on the floor. He is willing to attack, but he can be pretty easy to spook. And he's often looking to make the right play, but sometimes it feels like the right play is in lieu of the shot I don't feel confident putting up right now.
Yeah, and they were daring him to shoot in this game.
Real quick, interesting question, Thursday. And we don't have to get into long details about it. It could be something for the audience to think about. You can weigh in the comments section. From Mr. Bolt 5 or ML Bolt 5. Would you guys agree that maybe Kennard has taken Jake's role from earlier in the year and now he's struggling?
It's an interesting question. There's a little bit to some degree.
We'll think about that. Maybe talk about it next week. Again, people leave comments, your thoughts on that, but it's an interesting way of thinking about it.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can hang out with over 37,000 subscribers to the channel. Do check out the Everydayer Club. We'll see you after the game on Friday.